Hello. Hello to anyone out there, and welcome. Welcome to Sovereign Earth. I'm JJ Middleway, and this is Sovereign Earth 47. Yeah, I'm quite surprised as myself, 47. And there's Betty next door, the dog. I don't know if you can hear Betty barking. Just before we came on air, there was a deer, I think it was a muntjac, also barking, but it got the dog going. Anyway, I can see there's one or two of you joining. There's signs of life on the screen, and you're very welcome. So who's there? Mark Taft, lovely, from Leicester. Isalinda Damas from Portugal. Rachel O'Reilly from Lincolnshire. Margareta Berg from France. And there's a long name there that I can't say. Let me try. Ranveig Marie Jorgenstetter Split. Hello. I don't know where you're from. I would guess the Scandinavian countries. Angelica Minier from Germany, I believe, and Margareta Berg from France, yes. Susie Jensen Rolf Thule from Northwest Oregon. There's another long name. Angie Hill from next door. Kieran McCarthy, back in England from Ireland. Blake Octavian Blair from USA, bless you. Isalinda Damas. Lovely. Melanie Mamakos from California. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, welcome all. Did I nearly singe my non-beard? Right, we're going to talk about summer solstice, seeing as it's approaching. But just a quick recap on what Sovereign Earth's about, the vision that inspired this, for humanity to come to regard nature as being sacred once again. It's a simple vision, isn't it? But how out of tune we are as a species. And so each episode, each offering of Sovereign Earth is a stepping stone toward a pool, a stone in the pond, or a stepping stone towards realising that vision. And one day I dream that this will be the curriculum for our children in schools, all of the stuff we cover in Sovereign Earth. So, summer solstice, or Alban Hefin, or Alban Hefin in some quarters. Welshman Ialog Morgannwg in the late 1700s came up with that term, light on the shore. Light on the shore, Alban Hefin, Alban Hefin. And it's to do with a liminal space. It's that time of year. It's a transition time, as we'll explore. So I want to use a visual aid, which I've used before, but it's one of my Druid tabards. And on there, you can see what's called the Awen. This is the symbol of inspiration. And there are various stories that go with this, but for the purposes of this evening, I want to use it to illustrate a couple of aspects of summer solstice. So the first one would be, if we use it as a model in this occasion, so if we say this is the solstice, and here's, which side are you? Here's the, let's say that's Beltane, which was 1st of May, and now we come to summer solstice, and there's Samhain in the autumn. And I use those three because they're the three nights closest to fairy. They're called the fairy nights. They're the liminal nights. They're the nights when the veil between the worlds is at its thinnest. Beltane, summer solstice, Samhain. That's one way of just utilising this symbol. But the way I want to particularly look at it for summer solstice is if we take this as being winter solstice. So the sun was in winter solstice, the sun stood still in the depths of winter, and it was at its southernmost point in the journey. It had travelled south. It was summer in Australia, in the southern hemisphere, in the Antipodes, because the sun travels away from us down to the south, and then it stands still and it turns. Now, just interestingly, 21st of December is winter solstice, but we celebrate its turning on the 24th of December, 3 days later. That's when the sun is reborn. You can spell it S-O-N or S-U-N. The sun is reborn. And then it travels slowly northwards, and it gets to the equinox, spring equinox. Equal day, equal night. And at spring equinox, the turning of from the dark half of the year to the light half. And on we travel like a pendulum, the sun coming further and further north until, look, we're almost there. It's not quite the solstice, but it will reach its northernmost point on its journey. And because we're in the northern hemisphere, we'll be warmed by the sun, and it will stand still. Sol, sun, stisere, still, solstice. The sun stands still. And then it will stand still between, this year it's on the night of the 20th. It's at 10:43 on Saturday night. Is the scientific, we wouldn't know this, but for really good measuring techniques, but 10:43 is the point of the solstice. But to the naked eye, it will then stand still for a further 3 days, nights, till the 24th, St. John's Eve. And then it moves on its journey back again. So there's a brief song to go with that. For the sun stands still at solstice, let us all do the same, and in a burning instant connect with all by name. For the sun stands still at solstice, let us all do the same, and in a burning instant connect with all by name. So it's like this pendulum. If you think of a pendulum that swings, it reaches its end point, and before it turns, it stands still. But of course, what's amazing about the solstice is at its height, which will be in three or four nights' time, Saturday night, at the height, its fullest height, it stands still, and then it gradually and slowly dies. So it's the point of its turning into fading. Amazing to think how summer is turning so soon, so quickly. Now, what's incredible about all of the points on the wheel, but our ancestors celebrated this time, and we don't just speculate about that. There's evidence that it's recorded that in Aquitaine in the 4th century, it's written about that there's a burning wheel, a cart wheel stuffed with straw, and it's lit and set down a hill, and it rolls down the hill, burning wheel, and the aim is to get it to the bottom still alight, which guarantees or helps the crops to flourish if the wheel stays alight all the way down the hill. And this is a great event, and that was the 4th century AD in Aquitaine, southwest France. But there's also the next recording of it is 1,000 years later in the 14th century. There's a recording of it by a monk who's writing about the same thing. A cart wheel, a big wheel with straw, and again set rolling down the hill, alight, and again to the bottom, sometimes into a stream. I don't know if that would have been, but where did that happen? Wow, it happened in a little village called Winchcombe, which is in Gloucestershire. It's just up the valley. It's not far away. And it's really weird to think that 600 or 700 years ago, and way back into history, they were burning these wheels in celebration of the solstice. And they burnt them on St. John's Eve, which is the equivalent of Christmas Eve. It's 3 days after the solstice when the sun is reborn, or in this case, the sun is turned into its death throes, ultimately. The paradox. So there's a couple of instances. I'm just going to explore one or two examples of where it's celebrated and how it's celebrated. There's dozens and dozens and hundreds even of examples of sort of solstice being marked. In Sweden, it's so important that it's they proposed that they're not. I don't think they're going to do it, but they proposed that it become their national day. They really mark it by burning fires and fires. Yeah, lighting of fires really goes with it. In Cornwall, they call it Gulliwan, which I think means brightness or light. And they light fires on all the hilltops in Cornwall. And again, this whole sense of honouring the light, calling the light, and going around all the fields with firebrands. So lighting firebrands and going around the farmers' fields to invoke fertility of the land and good crops, and marking the boundaries. Actually, it's interesting because that one I described in Aquitaine, the first one I described, it's called the Rota Flammis Circumcepta. So it's a burning wheel which goes around the boundaries, around the edge, around the hedges. And that's in the name. So we got Gulliwan in Cornwall, and there's more. Oh, I know what I wanted to mention. When I was travelling in South America about 15 years ago, I was travelling around Bolivia and Peru and Chile and other places. But in Bolivia, there's Lake Titicaca. And I was blessed to be able to go onto the island in Lake Titicaca, which is the Isla del Sol, the island of the sun. And all these ancient trackways and ritual altars and so on to mark the sun. And next to it is the island of the moon. They really celebrated right across the continent. I saw so many smashed up icons which had clearly been celestial or heliac, sun and moon were being celebrated. And of course the Western Europeans came in, and Spanish in that case, I think, and smashed it all up. But this beautiful vestige of connection with the heavens, and how important that is, and how important it is we celebrate the seasons to give us our place. It celebrates our place in the world. It gives us a real sense of where we fit into the cosmos, and it's like giving us a framework, a chapters and punctuation to our lives, which gives us, it's given me a real sense of place, perspective, presence, humility, small grain of sand in the universe. Well, without it, and this is where our culture struggles, without it, we're like ships cast adrift on the sea, floating aimlessly. And of course, yeah, we're rudderless, and we don't know where we are in relation to the stars without celebrating the rites and the seasons and the rituals that give us community and give us a flavour of what it is to be alive. Anyway, part of that, we're going to sing another song in a moment. The oak is so much part of this time. The oak is at its fullness at midsummer, at the solstice. And in ceremony we make a crown of oak and we celebrate the oak in its glory. And here's a song about the oak. It fits with this sun the oak and the sun go together for me. So I just get my drum. Oak tree, we honor your beauty, oak tree. We honor your strength, oak tree. We honor your wisdom, oak tree. We sing for your health, oak tree, oak tree. Oak tree, oak tree, oak tree, oak tree. Oak tree, oak tree, oak tree, oak tree, oak tree, oak tree. Please join me if you care to. Oak tree, we honor your beauty, oak tree. We honor your strength, oak tree. We honor your wisdom, oak tree. We sing for your health, oak tree, 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 oak tree. Third time, oak tree. We honor your beauty, oak tree. We honor your strength, oak tree. We honor your wisdom, oak tree. We sing for your health, oak tree, 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 oak tree. Oh, oh. So that's for the oak. That's a song I came up with some years ago, honouring the oak in the stone circle at Stonehenge, which I'll say a bit more about in a couple of minutes. Well, the oak is such an epitome, of course, of Druidry, and it's also the national tree of this land. And one of the most beautiful things about it for me is that the oak harbours and offers its fruits and its bounty to over 500 species of insect and wildlife are involved and interwoven with the oak, and it shares of its bounty all through its life, and I think it's beautiful. It also gives shade in midsummer to the sheep and other animals. Beautiful tree, symbol of summer. So in County Limerick in Ireland, at midsummer, I think again on St John's Eve, certainly midsummer time, they go up the hill there. What's it called? The Hill of the Fairy Queen. It's called the Hill of the Fairy Queen, and it's dedicated to Anya. I'm probably not saying this right. It's A with a mark over it, and then I-N-E. Anya. The Hill of the Fairy Queen, and the name actually means brightness, which is, yeah, again, summer brightness. And Ronald Hutton, in his book about stations of the sun, he talks of it possibly being a temple of the goddess, or certainly dedicated to the sun goddess, a remnant of that time. Ronald Hutton is a dear friend who I just want to honour his remarkable knowledge. I think he's the world authority on all this sort of stuff and much more. History and Civil War, and Professor of History at Bristol. And he's coming round here on Sunday to celebrate the solstice with me. 25th year, I reckon, that we will have celebrated the solstice together. Remarkable journey, and I'd recommend his books. Stations of the Sun, that one's from. So there's so many monuments and examples. Callanish in the Outer Hebrides has a stone circle dedicated, aligned with the sun. The Ring of Brodgar on Orkney is known by the locals and has been for centuries as the Temple of the Sun. The Ring of Brodgar up on Orkney, which I've been privileged to visit and spend time in. But of course, the henge and monument par excellence is Stonehenge, and I just want to share a couple of some of my experiences at Stonehenge. I've been privileged and fortunate to go into the circle at Solstice on over many years as a guest of the ancient order of Druids. I say as a guest because I'm not a full I've gone so often they treat me as one of their own, and it's a beautiful experience. There are 3 ceremonies. The shortest night, so the short dark night of solstice, just before the solstice, we process out over the plain, over Salisbury Plain, a long line of Druids clad in white. It's quite a sight actually on a moonlit night. Right out over the plain to a burial mound, and there we have a midnight ceremony. And then we come back. It takes time. We find our way back to near Stonehenge, and then we get ready for the dawn ceremony, and we go around. We gather the elements around the fire, earth, air, and water. There's a process of gathering those around the stones, taking them to the heel stone. I'll say a bit more about that in a moment. And then we go into the stones and we watch the sun rise. And if we're lucky, it's clear. Often in England, it's cloudy or rainy, but there's certainly 3 or 4 occasions I can remember perfect, clear blue sky. And the sun rises over the heel stone. And the heel stone is down in the northwest, just set away from the main henge. And it's the oldest stone. It's been there far longer than the henge itself, which has been there for 5,000 years, since 3000 BC roughly, Stonehenge. But although there are post holes and tree holes from 8,000 BC, think about that, 10,000 years celebrating the heavens and the sun in that place. So that's the dawn ceremony. We watch the sun rise, and we come out and we grab a bit of breakfast if we're lucky, and then we get ready and we go in for the midday ceremony, the sun at its height. So midnight, dawn, midday. And really beautiful experience to mark and celebrate the rising of the sun over the heel stone, as it will have been done many thousands of years ago, because it's obvious when you're in there and you see it rise right in the right place in relation to the heel stone, which marks the rising sun at midsummer. And of course, Stonehenge marks the rising sun at midsummer. It also marks the setting sun of midwinter. Newgrange marks the midwinter sunrise, and many other monuments celebrate sun and moon. There's another one in Aberdeenshire at Warren Fields. It's a Mesolithic lunar temple, but this sun and moon, this relationship of sun and moon. So we'll just have a song to round it off, celebrating sun and moon. Before we do that, just before we do that, I'm going to invite us to just close our eyes. And just sink into the breath, into the body. Another breath. And a third breath, deep into the body. And in your mind's eye, I'd like to invite you to bring a picture of Stonehenge to mind. You may never have been, it doesn't matter. You can picture it however you like. You may have visited, you may not, doesn't matter. You see Stonehenge before you. And you make your way over towards the henge, Stonehenge. Stanheng, the original name, stone hanging, hanging stone, Stanheng. And just on the left, down a slope to your left, is the heel stone. The heel stone. Some people think it's heel of a shoe or a foot. Others think it's healing in a H-E-A-L. It's heel stone Helios, the sunstone, the Helios stone. And you make your way down to the left, to the Helios stone. Heel stone. And you touch it. And just feel it's pre-dawn. Still night. It's the longest, the shortest night. Just pre-summer solstice. And you go and touch the stone and just connect with the many ancients who will have been in this place over many hundreds and thousands of years. And you make your way, you walk up about 50 to 60 meters up towards the henge itself, and you enter between two huge sarsen stones. And you enter into the sacred circle, and in the middle there are smaller stones, the Priscilli blue stones. And you find somewhere where you can look out the portal, through the portal you entered the stones through. And you look back to the heel stone in the distance. And it's approaching dawn. The sky is slowly lightening. And gradually as it lightens, you become aware of a sun. The sun is rising behind, just from the horizon which meets the top of the stone. The sun very slowly peaks its head above the stone, and you see the summer solstice sunrise in your mind's eye. And you just luxuriate in the beauty of the sun on summer solstice, this longest day, just coming out of the shortest night. The sun is rising, the glorious sun at solstice. And you savour the moment. And you just hear this song again. For the sun stands still at solstice, let us all do the same, and in a burning instant connect with all by name. For the sun stands still at solstice, let us all do the same, and in this burning instant connect with all by name. And you bow to the sun, and you give thanks, and you make your way back out through the portal, through the gateway. You just nod in the direction of the heel stone. Make your way back along the way you came. Back. Away from the stones, and turn round. You just take one last look at the stones, Stonehenge, the hanging stones. And you bow, and you bring yourself in your mind's eye back to this space, wherever this space might be for you, whether you're sitting on a stool, a meditation stool as I am, or you have a seat, or you're lying down, or whatever. Welcome back. So yes, Stonehenge is just one example and one way of marking the solstice. And of course this year, because of the circumstances, English Heritage, who are the custodians of Stonehenge, have closed it and locked it up. But they are live streaming the actual sunrise on, I believe it must be Saturday night to Sunday morning, but you better check. I haven't checked yet, but I would think it'd be Saturday night, Sunday morning, the sunrise, the solstice sunrise. And whether you've been there or not, or whether you see that or not, in a sense, because we're all unable to go there physically, this was a taster, shared taster in the global grove, and it's lovely to know you're there and with me in this moment and honouring the sun. So I mentioned there are some lunar monuments, there are solar monuments, and all around the globe, everywhere you go. Before, Western man went and smashed a good few of them up, most of them. They're just vestiges and hints, and my call is that we bring them back into consciousness, back into celebration. We reinvigorate and re-enliven them so that they come to fruition again, and they fertilize us as a culture and as a people, as a species, and the earth with it. Actually, I'll take a gamble here just before we sing our song, and I hope I'm not going on too long. We're nearly finished. It's half an hour. If I can find it. Amesbury to Avebury. There's a poem in here. I may not find. That'll be the goddess telling me to just crack on with it. There's several in here that would probably. Amesbury to Avebury. I can't see it. Oh, there it is. Right, this is about stones. We are as dolphins drawn to manna by the echoes of the stones, summoned from the half-light by the radar in our bones. We are as dolphins drawn to manna by the echoes of the stones, summoned from the half-light by the radar in our bones. The resonance resounding now, as through the ageless years, for any who have entered with still mind and open ears. Remembering forgetfulness, the secret magic melts, the frozen capsule of ourselves, cryogenic man post-Celt, the mind engulfing humming, the strange and mystic glow, as upswellings of life force from earth to heaven flow. Now the light and sound that issues from the rocks throughout my form reverberates in landscape, and pure spirit is reborn. For the wizened stones as witness, with secrets are imbued. Mathematics, music, mystery, mighty hewn and multi-hued. So I wasn't going to read that, but it came to mind, and why not? So we finish with a song. Sun and moon unite, give birth to the rainbow people of the earth. A new dream, we can all take part. A rainbow sings within my heart. A rainbow sings within my heart. Yanaho, let the rainbow grow. Yanaho, let the rainbow for any of you who are still with me, thank you for joining me. There was a lot of competition tonight because it's Dave the Bard's birthday, and he had a music show that was going on. He did start at 7 and he's possibly finished by now, but I figure a good few of those who would normally join me were celebrating Dave's birthday with him. Although a few of you, thank you, have come over and jumped ship and joined me for this, and I'm really grateful. And just to finish, this triskel, or this pattern to the goddess or whatever can be found on ancient monuments, and it's on Newgrange from 5,000 years ago. So it's energy, cycles, spirals of the sun, spirals of the planets, who knows, life force. So we'll blow out the candle. I'll blow out the candle in honour of the sun and in honour of its height, and may the sun shine on you this midsummer. Blessings and goodbye.